What's going on, Team Icon, and welcome to another live stream. Today, I'm gonna actually go over proper form and proper setup for the dumbbell chest press. Now, all of these principles apply to every single chest press and technically even any sort of shoulder press that you're gonna do, like overhead press. They all apply, okay? Because the fundamentals are the same, right? All of it has to do with scapular retraction, so being able to pull your shoulder blades back, and then thoracic spine or mid-back mobility, right? Because essentially what you're trying to do is be in this position. And I'll go over that more in depth right now. And for the record, the reason I actually ended up doing this live stream today instead of last night, the storm got wicked over here. Like, it was so loud. Yeah, Ash, how are you? But the storm was so loud, the wind was so strong that, like, I was coming into the garage and I was like doing a sound check. I was like, no, you can't even hear my voice. It was like, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna postpone it to the morning, and hopefully we have some better sound quality in the morning and less wind, excuse me. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the flat chest press, okay? Now, the two main things I want you to, the one main thing I want you to switch between incline and flat is the placement of the dumbbells when you're starting, okay? Because when you're flat, there's gonna be a lot more distance you have to travel before your back touches the bench. That being said, keeping those dumbbells as close to your center of gravity is the best thing you could do, okay? Because when you're out here, it leaves you vulnerable to missing kind of the pop-up and then coming out too wide and putting a lot of strain on your rotator cuff, okay? So just to reiterate, when you're going into a flat press, you wanna keep the dumbbells super close to your center of gravity, close to your upper torso. And when you're going incline, you wanna keep it a little bit further away, okay? This also, again, serves for dumbbell overhead press, because when you're going into a dumbbell overhead press, it's a very short distance you're traveling before your back touches the bench, right? An incline, yes, it's a little bit of a longer distance than a 90-degree angle, but even still, you're stopping at about here or here, right? You're not going all the way down. So it's best to keep the dumbbells at your knees. But for flat, you want to keep those dumbbells nice and close to your center of gravity, okay? So whenever I'm going into a dumbbell chest press, incline or flat, the first thing that I do is bring the dumbbells close to me or onto my knees. Secondly, I actually retract and depress my shoulder blades. So even before I make contact with that bench, I'm thinking of putting my shoulders and my thoracic spine or my mid-back into position, okay? Now from here, just to kind of give you a point of reference when you are retracting and depressing your shoulder blades, I think of flaring my rib cage, right? This is the one time that I'll tell you to actually flare your rib cage. Then from here, we're falling back and we're kicking the dumbbells up simultaneously, okay? That's gonna take a little bit of trust from yourself. If you feel more comfortable, especially with the flat, starting out with one at a time, that's fine, but I found over the years of experience that kicking up your feet at the same time is going to help you to keep your retracted shoulder blades and your arch in your mid-back intact while you drop down towards that bench, okay? So again, dumbbells nice and close, retract and depress, flare the rib cage. We're kicking up those dumbbells with our legs, and now we're ready to press, okay? Because we're in a very good position to actually press. Whereas if, let's say I started from my knees and I retracted and depressed, and I came back and I missed, you see how it kind of comes out and I gotta bring it close again. The whole idea here is to take as much strain away from your rotator cuff as humanly possible. So even when I'm kicking up those dumbbells, I'm kicking them up nice and close, right? So pretty much like just below my collarbone. And then once I get into position, okay, I've kicked the dumbbells in, I'm gonna kind of like shimmy and shake to make sure my upper back feels nice and tight up against the bench. Then watch my elbows, okay? Then I'm gonna abduct and I'm gonna press, okay? Now, while you are pressing, whenever you're doing a press, okay, even if you are horizontal, you wanna make sure that your fist is stacked on top of your wrist and your wrist is stacked on top of your elbow. Now, what does that mean? okay? So imagine I'm horizontal like this and I'm pressing like this, okay? Now, when I'm actually going to press, if I'm coming in like this, A, that's putting a lot of strain on my rotator cuff, okay? B, you're gonna feel a lot of bicep. Now, that's a good cue for you to think about when you're actually pressing. If you feel your bicep firing off, that means that instead of being in this position, you might be a little bit down. Or another culprit of quote unquote bad form is the wrists rolling back, which is why I use the cue of stacking your fist on top of your wrist and your wrist on top of your elbow, okay? So now when you're going into your press, everything is in alignment and you're actually keeping that forearm neutral, so all of the stimulus is gonna come into your chest. And then notice, when I'm actually going into my press, I'm not pressing from here. So my arm isn't at a 90-degree angle, because if you look at the path of movement here, it's actually in alignment with my collarbone. So I'm gonna feel my trap firing off, I'm gonna feel my front shoulder firing off, and it's gonna be very difficult for me to stay retracted and depressed with my actual shoulder blade, okay? So instead of being here, I want you to actually think of bringing it about here. Now, a note to keep in mind, the closer your arm gets to your body, the more tricep you're gonna feel. So more arm's gonna work, the closer you are to your body. But you kind of want to find that in between, okay? And the reason for this positioning is not only to be able to allow you to keep your shoulder blades retracted and depressed and ultimately feel it in your chest, but it also actually allows you to keep your lats engaged. Because the second I bring my arm up, my lat goes loose, right? But if I'm bringing that arm down to about like the center point of like 90, between 90 and 0, when I bring it to the center point, I'm actually feeling my lat fire off. And your lat needs to be firing off in order for you to efficiently press with the dumbbells, okay? So now, the last thing I'm gonna go over before I go into incline and essentially reiterate everything that I've said. The press starts from the feet, okay? So it always starts from the ground up. A lot of people kind of forget about what's happening in the bottom half. But now, once I've gotten into position, retracted and depressed, kicked my dumbbells up to position, got my upper back nice and tight up against that bench, as soon as before I abduct my arms or my elbows to actually go and press, my feet, okay? My feet are firmly planted on the ground. If you feel more comfortable being on the balls of your feet, that's completely fine. Okay, that's not the worst thing ever unless you're gonna do powerlifting. But your feet want to be planted on the ground. Okay, you don't want happy feet happening as you're pressing, because what happens is you lose core stability. Okay, and not only do you lose core stability, you lose all of your driving force because the press starts from the ground. You're pushing that ground away. Okay. The force that you're creating from the ground is traveling through your legs into your glutes, from your glutes, through your back, off of your back, into your chest. So it is a compound exercise, but a lot of people don't think of the chest press specifically from the lower half, okay? Now a good cue that I like to use in regards to getting that leg drive in, or a cue that actually helps me to keep the leg drive in check, sorry guys, is my foot placement. So pretend I'm on the bench. I mean, I am on the bench right now, but pretend I'm laying on the bench and my feet are on the ground, okay? From here, what I typically do, instead of being at a 90-degree angle, I try to bring my foot behind my knee. Whether you're gonna be on the ball of your foot or you're gonna be completely planted with your foot, you want that foot behind the knee. Reason being, as you're trying to drive, it's much easier, right? You have a lot more leverage once your foot is behind your knee to actually push the ground away as you're going to press, okay? So just to kind of reiterate, without the dumbbell, because I just realized I don't really need it besides the stacking of the joints demonstration. But before I even go into my press, I think of starting with my feet behind my knees, okay? Retract to press, I'll drop into the bench, and then I'll replace my feet. Notice they're behind my knees, right? My feet aren't here. I see that quite often, and this kind of makes it very difficult for you to have leg drive. But when your feet are actually either in line with your knees or just behind your knees, it becomes a lot easier to press. And now if the next time you go into this exercise, before you actually load it up with dumbbells, I want you to just get in position and practice pushing the ground away. you'll notice that your glutes actually activate as you're thinking of pushing that ground away, right? Now, moving on to incline press. When it comes to how high you should set your incline, I want to note this. The lower your incline, okay, so let's say like here, if I set my incline to here, it's going to be a lot more chest, okay? Now the higher you come, the more shoulder activation you're ultimately going to get, inevitably. As you come more towards vertical, you're going to start to get more shoulder activation, which is not a bad thing as long as you're feeling it predominantly in your chest, okay? So now, this is my ideal angle for my incline chest press. Now, like I mentioned at the start of the live, when you're going incline, you want those dumbbells at your knees, okay? You do not want them close by, and you definitely do not want to muscle them up with your shoulder, okay? It's gonna be very awkward at first if you haven't been accustomed to using your knees to kind of pop them up. But now I can really give you a visual of where I'm popping up these dumbbells, okay? Because that is a huge aspect of a successful incline dumbbell chest press and just a chest press in general, okay? When I'm retracting and depressing my shoulder blades, I'm flaring that rib cage. When I pop up these dumbbells, they're going up by my collarbone, okay? Now here, I don't advise trying to get them both at the same time when you are on an incline because it's less of a distance to the bench. I do advise one at a time. But notice where these dumbbells are sitting, right? They're not coming out into position. They're actually in a very comfortable spot. I can chill here all day, right? I'm very comfortable where these dumbbells are right now. Now again, just like the flat bench, I'm gonna shimmy, make sure my shoulders are in place. I'm gonna abduct, then I'm gonna go into my press. And notice my forearms on the way down are still staying neutral, right? Because too often what I'll see is they'll start to come down like this. And that's where the shoulder gets all wonky. Again, you start to feel in your bicep. So as much as you are thinking of keeping your forearm neutral as you're pressing, on the way down, you also want to maintain a neutral forearm, okay? Now when you're finished, bring it back tight, drop down to the knees, okay? I forgot to go over that with the flat bench, but essentially imagine like I'm flat here, right? We start a little bit closer, so we come back, put ourselves into chest press position, sorry. We press, we finish pressing, we're bringing those dumbbells back into external rotation to bring them closer to our body, and we're placing them onto our knees to fall back, okay? So one time in motion for the incline, without me talking so much because I know I ramble sometimes. At the end of the knees, retract and depress the shoulder blades. 1, 2, readjust, make sure my feet are actually behind my knees. Then I'm gonna abduct my arms from my body, and I'm gonna think of pressing, okay? Now, it's very important as well here that you think of keeping your chin tucked, right? So even if you are gazing at your dumbbells, just make it your eyes. Don't allow your neck to kind of like push back like this and force your neck into a compromised position. You always want to think of keeping the chin tucked because it's very important for you to keep your neck in alignment with your spine, right? And more often than not, even with myself in previous years of my fitness journey, I'd always do weird things with my neck. So I've really learned to push out the form cue of keeping your chin tucked. And then whenever you're fixing your gaze, like your sight, just your eyes are moving. Your chin should not move with your eyes. It's just your eyes. So if I'm looking up at the dumbbells, my chin is still tucked, right? Like it's not like I'm not jacking my neck back up and putting my chin up and putting myself in a compromised position. But that is essentially the live stream. I got it done in 15 minutes. Sick! I was trying to rush through that. What did you say there, Ashley? On that treadmill, ready to go. Okay, let's go! Perfect time to actually get your cardio done during the live stream. Anyways, I hope you guys found this helpful because this is something that has caused me a lot of grief over the years. Just presses in general. I've really jacked up my rotator cuff on my left side. It's still kind of like injured to this day. But, take it from somebody who's been through it. These form checks are extremely annoying, but I promise you that in longevity, they will help you maximize the gains. But anyways, I need lunch because I'm hungry as a And it's kind of chilly in here. It's not too cold today, and luckily the wind died down. But yeah, Coach Cruz is logging off. So all of you who tuned in live, God bless you. For the rest of you, I hope you catch us on the replay, because this will elevate your chest press game to the max. But for now, I'm out. Talk to you guys later. Peace, love, and all the proteins. May the gains be with you.